It is no coincidence that her son Louis also shares a special bond with Sandra Bullock. The boy whom she adopted in 2010, the same year she filed for divorce from her ex-husband Jesse James, has a unique connection with her. Although Sandra has never revealed the details of Louis' origins, she has shared that the boy has a special connection to her. They come from the same place, New Orleans. In January 2010, Sandra brought home a 3-month-old baby from New Orleans and named him Louis. Today, Louis has grown into a teenager and offers insightful career advice to his Oscar-winning mother. However, what few people expect is that the boy bears an uncanny resemblance to someone from Sandra's past, someone she hasn't mentioned in many years. He shares the same jawline, eyes, and gestures as someone from her past, prompting even Sandra's closest friends to ask uncomfortable questions about this strange similarity. If you find this story interesting, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Don't forget to like, share the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments below to let us know what you think. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any exciting videos. Now, let's begin the story. Having legs as long as Svetlana Pankratova's isn't as easy as it might seem. She's openly talked about the everyday struggles she faces, like finding clothes that actually fit or accidentally bumping into people in crowded spaces, things most of us never even think about. But despite these obstacles, Svetlana stays positive and never lets them bring her down. She wears her uniqueness with pride, constantly smiling and encouraging others to embrace what makes them different. With her mother's career in opera, Sandra's family constantly moved from city to city across Europe. Sandra grew up surrounded by artists, musicians, and actors in large theaters. By the time she was 5 years old, Sandra was not just watching operas. She was also participating in children's choirs for live performances across Europe, taking part in famous operas like The Magic Flute and Carmen. These performances were not school plays, but serious productions where she had to learn music for real and follow a strict schedule. This event left a lasting mark not only on the fan community, but also on the global music industry, changing the way concerts are organized and secured to ensure absolute safety for both artists and audiences. Dimebag Darrell lives on in the hearts of music lovers as a symbol of raw talent and an unrelenting passion for rock and metal. German is still Sandra Bullock's first language, and she speaks it fluently to this day. In fact, she holds dual citizenship in both Germany and the United States. This blend of two cultures has shaped Sandra into a strong and distinct figure in the film industry. She brings a level of authenticity that sets her apart from anyone else in the world of Hollywood stars. With a tumultuous childhood and constant changes, Sandra learned how to adapt and quickly connect with others. The frequent moves to new cities, new schools, and making new friends helped her develop the ability to read a room and connect with people. After graduating from high school, Sandra enrolled in theater at East Carolina University, preparing to graduate and begin a promising career journey. However, in 1986, just 3 credits away from graduating, Sandra dropped out of college. She shared that school felt boring to her and she didn't want to just have a degree. Her goal was to go to New York to chase her dreams. With no guarantees, she only had her dream and determination with her. New York City was not easy for her. At that time, she had no money and no support. She worked night shifts as a bartender, serving cocktails and holding coats for guests. She would finish her shifts at 2:00 a.m. and have to wake up at 6:00 a.m. to attend acting classes. Her life at that time was a series of challenging days living in a small apartment with no heating, surviving on ramen noodles and coffee. Yet she never gave up. These hardships taught her many important lessons, especially humility. And this is the truth at the heart of it all. Disney isn't a place that values creativity, talent, or the art of entertainment. It's all about squeezing every last dollar from everyone involved. Renner pointed out that it was Disney's accountants who were driving these decisions. And yet they still had the nerve to offer him half the pay for twice the work. In the end, Renner didn't hold back. He told them they could take those offers and go fly a kite. It was a In 1987, Sandra landed her first film role in a low-budget thriller called Hangman. However, the film did not attract much public attention and was quickly forgotten. Sandra went on to appear in a few other films that were released directly to video, such as Religion, Inc. and Who Shot Pacango. However, none of these films achieved significant success. Most of these films are now hard to find, becoming forgotten works. However, Sandra never felt embarrassed by them. She acknowledges that those films taught her many valuable lessons, especially about the things she shouldn't do in the industry. They also serve as a reminder of her early steps in her career, reminding her of where she started. Things started to change in 1988 when Sandra landed a leading role in a small off-Broadway play called No Time Flat. While it wasn't a major production, her performance caught the attention of a talent agent. It was this agent who signed her, opening the door to greater opportunities in Sandra's career. She soon landed a role in the 1989 television movie Bionic Showdown, The $6 Million Man, and The Bionic Woman. In this film, she played a young scientist. While it wasn't a leading role, the part was enough to garner Sandra attention from both the audience and industry professionals. In 1990, Sandra finally landed a leading role. NBC gave her the main role in the television film Working Girl, a comedy based on the hit movie of the same name. This was a major turning point in Sandra's career, allowing her to step away from smaller roles and truly showcase her talent on screen. This role not only helped Sandra gain widespread recognition, but also marked the first step in her journey to becoming one of Hollywood's most prominent stars. Interestingly, Wilder's insistence on a straightforward performance may also reflect his own discomfort with excess. Those who worked with him described Wilder as thoughtful, methodical, and deeply committed to emotional truth. In that sense, the Waco Kid became an extension of Wilder's personal ethos, an observer who doesn't need to shout to be heard. Even when delivering absurd lines, his timing and tone remain precise and perfectly controlled. When Sandra Bullock was offered the role of Annie Porter in Speed in 1994, it wasn't because she was the first choice. Originally, Annie was written as a black medical worker, and Halle Berry was the top choice for the role, especially after her success in Boomerang. However, Halle turned it down, citing that she didn't want to drive a bus and felt the script lacked sufficient dialogue for her character. Pamela lasted much longer than his first and brought him the personal happiness and emotional support he had long been missing. Pamela was not only a wife, but also a soulmate and a steadfast pillar, helping Murphy face the pressures of fame, psychological trauma, and public expectations. Dear friends, in life and history, we all have our own heroes and legends. Do you enjoy the meaningful stories of the national hero, Audie Murphy? If so, leave a 2 in the comments. If not, leave a 5. Either way, we'd love to hear your When Speed hit theaters on June 10, 1994, no one expected it to become a massive hit, but it did. The film earned $350.4 million worldwide, while its budget was only between $30 to $37 million. This meant the revenue was nearly 10 times the production cost. Overnight, Sandra Bullock went from being an unknown to a global star, and Hollywood couldn't take its eyes off her. The very next year, she became the star of romantic comedies. The 1995 film, While You Were Sleeping, became another huge success, grossing $182 million worldwide. Her performance in the film earned her a Golden Globe nomination, and just like that, Sandra Bullock was not only an action star, but also crowned the queen of romantic comedies. Audiences loved her, and film studios knew she could sell tickets. Sandra had officially become a profitable entity. That same year, Sandra made a bold move. She founded her own production company. Fortis Films was established in 1995 with her college friend Mark Brunette. The company was officially registered on April 16, 1996, with operations in both Austin, Texas, and West Hollywood. Her sister Gesina Bullock Prado served as president for the first 5 years. Sandra was not only acting in films, but also producing, negotiating, and shaping her own future. In 1997, Sandra even signed a first-look deal with Warner Brothers, a major power move. Through Fortis Films, she championed projects she believed in. The company was behind the success of films like Hope Floats 1998, Miss Congeniality 2000, and 2 Weeks' Notice 2002, all of which became box office hits. Not stopping at film, Sandra also ventured into television, producing the comedy George Lopez, which aired from 2002 to 2007, further solidifying her position in the entertainment industry. Few actresses in the 90s made bold decisions like Sandra Bullock, but she set a new standard for herself. She wasn't afraid to embrace new opportunities, even though not all of her choices were successful. One prime example was Speed 2 Cruise Control, released in 1997. The project became a mess from the start. Keanu Reeves did not return to reprise his role, and Sandra was uncertain about joining the sequel. However, Fox was eager to have her. They offered Sandra $11 million, a substantial increase from the $500,000 she earned for the first film. However, Sandra didn't simply agree to join. She made a special deal with the studio she would participate in Speed 2, only if they agreed to fund a project she was passionate about, Hope Floats. Fox agreed to Sandra's terms, and she took the risk to pursue what she truly believed in. While Speed 2 was a failure, the gamble paid off for her as Hope Floats turned out to be a success. The film had a budget of $160 million, but only grossed $164.5 million worldwide, making almost no profit. Critics harshly criticized the movie, commenting on its slow pace and weak plot, along with the absence of Keanu Reeves, a key factor in the success of the first film. Speed 2 went on to win the Worst Sequel award at the Razzie Awards. Sandra later called it a shameful experience and joked that only 5 people actually liked the film. Before Zahara could even walk steadily, Zahara Jolie Pitt had already traveled the world. Her early years were not spent in a quiet nursery. They were a whirlwind of continents, cameras, and cultures. While most toddlers her age were discovering sippy cups, Zahara had explored Paris, Tokyo. This was where Sandra took her godson, hoping to give him an unforgettable experience. However, instead of just a simple garage visit, something unexpected happened. Sparks flew between Sandra and Jesse. She was a famous star, and he was a tattooed motorcycle racer with a notable reputation. No one could have predicted that this visit would turn into a relationship and eventually a complete marriage. But that's exactly what happened. And what began as a sweet gesture for a child turned into one of the most remarkable love stories in Hollywood history. Sandra and Jesse got married on July 16, 2005 in Santa Barbara. At the time, Sandra was 41, already a famous star with a brilliant career, while Jesse came with baggage 3 children from previous marriages, including Sunny, the daughter of adult film star Janine Linda Mulder. Janine was not only a former porn actress, but also a convicted criminal, which sparked much controversy and criticism regarding Jesse's family life. Despite this, Sandra opened her heart and welcomed Jesse's children into her life. Despite being widely known, he was often denied leading roles in Hollywood deemed too intellectual for a black man. These quiet rejections left deep scars, making him cold and distant. Although he yearned for recognition, Roscoe Lee Brown never became a commercial star. He focused on profound performances on stage, especially during the height of the civil rights movement. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at around $2 million, primarily from his stage work, television contracts, and voice acting. On April 11, 2007, Roscoe Lee Brown. However, Sandra's dream of a happy marriage and family collapsed in March 2010, just days after she won her first Oscar for her performance in The Blind Side. Headlines exploded when at least 5 women came forward claiming they had affairs with Jesse James during his marriage to Sandra. The characters in this affair included a tattooed model, a stripper, and even a woman who worked in his shop. This information disrupted Sandra's married life dramatically. The affair became public knowledge and was a huge shock to the public. Michelle Bombshell. McGee, one of the women mentioned in the story, sold her side of the story to tabloid newspapers, revealing details of the messages meetings and shady activities between her and Jesse. These revelations spread quickly across the media, damaging Sandra's reputation and her family's happiness. Although Jesse publicly admitted his mistakes and apologized to Sandra, it was too late. She had to face the betrayal and pain, not only emotionally, but also the immense loss in her life and career. The Oscar that Sandra won should have been the pinnacle of her career, but instead, it became a painful reminder of what she had lost. At that time, Sandra was not only dealing with betrayal in her marriage, but also facing criticism and skeptical glances from the public. Just 10 days after receiving the Oscar, Sandra had to face a major shock in her life and career. She not only lost trust in her husband, but also had to find a way to cope with the painful betrayal she had endured. Although those difficult days were not easy for Sandra, she gradually regained her strength and confidence. She continued working, advancing her career, and proving to everyone that strength and resilience are not traits everyone can easily overcome, but Sandra did. While the pain will always be a part of her past, it did not define her future. Sandra continues to be a successful woman, a strong single mother, and a star who remains bright in the hearts of her fans. Coming from a working-class family, the son of a German coal miner and a strict mother, Lou joined the U.S. Air Force early on, then graduated from college and earned a master's degree in theater from New York University. He built a distinguished Broadway career with powerful August Wilson plays, such as Ma Rainey's Black Bottom Fences and The Piano Lesson. Lou's life offstage was chaotic due to his erratic temperament. He famously walked out of performances mid-show and publicly reprimanded directors, earning him a reputation for being difficult to work with. His only marriage ended in the late 1990s, amidst much tension, accusations of control. In the script, the character Charles often stands up for the weak, a reflection of Landon's real life when he protected his mother when she lost control. The fact that Landon performs his own fight scenes without the help of a stunt double shows that this is not only an art of acting, but also a spiritual healing process for him. Through these action scenes, Landon seems to tell his life story in his own language, both powerful and profound. Each punch carried the weight of something deeply personal. Lewis was born in New Orleans, a city that had haunted Sandra ever since Hurricane Katrina. She once said, "Something told me my child was there." Sandra felt a strong connection to the city, and once Lewis arrived, everything became clear. Her love for New Orleans wasn't just words. She donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to a local school, made unexpected speeches, and quietly became a part of the community. She didn't just adopt a child, she also adopted a mission. She named the boy Louis after the jazz legend Louis Armstrong. His middle name, Bardau, holds multiple layers of meaning, including the name of a German saint, a Buddhist concept of life and death, and even a tribute to Sandra's late mother, whose middle name was Louise. Each part of his name carries a profound significance. It's music, it's history, it's healing. The name Louis is not just a family connection, but also a symbol of hope, love, and the values that Sandra holds dear. In 2015, Sandra Bullock expanded her family by adopting a second child. This time it was a 5-year-old girl named Layla from Louisiana. The little girl had gone through a challenging foster care experience and carried deep fears within her. The adoption process was not easy, and Sandra faced significant challenges as paparazzi tried to expose her adoption before the procedure was complete. She had to deal with brutal invasions of her privacy, with reporters even following her family to the emergency room at one point. However, Sandra responded fiercely to these intrusions. She protected her daughter in the way any mother would, with strength and determination. By 2015, soccer had evolved from a simple hobby to a family event. Zahara and Shiloh were often spotted chasing the ball across local fields, while Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt cheered them on from the sidelines. A particularly touching moment occurred in May of that year when cameras caught Brad gently kissing Angelina as they watched their daughters play. For just a brief moment, the two superstar parents were simply mom and dad, savoring a quiet moment of pride and joy while observing their children. It was a rare glimpse into the everyday love that grounded. On the night of June 8, 2014, when Sandra returned to her bare estate, she had just had a long, exhausting day and was eager to rest. After taking a shower, she slipped into bed ready to fall asleep, unaware that an unimaginable event was about to unfold. Her son Louis didn't come home that night. The babysitter had taken Louis to a nearby apartment, thinking Sandra would be home late. That simple decision may have saved his life. Around 1:00 a.m., Sandra heard strange noises in her house. First a faint sound, then another noise, as if someone was moving around. She thought it was coming from her gym, but the noises grew closer, and the uneasy feeling inside her intensified. At that point, Sandra realized that there was an intruder in her home. She was alone in the large estate, and fear began to surge within her. She couldn't believe this was happening. She immediately locked her bedroom door and bolted herself inside the closet, trying to remain silent. In recent years, Meg Ryan has shifted her focus to behind-the-scenes roles, including directing and producing. While she no longer frequently appears in public as an actress, her contributions to the film industry are still highly regarded. Today, Meg Ryan leads a relatively private life, occasionally making public appearances, but primarily staying out of the media spotlight. Her legacy as the queen of romantic comedies remains strong, leaving an indelible mark on Hollywood. Her voice on the 911 call was filled with terror, but she still tried to remain calm. She hid in the closet, not daring to breathe too loudly for fear that the intruder might hear. Each second felt like an eternity, and the tension was almost unbearable. The world around her seemed to spin, becoming blurry with only the sound of her ragged breath and small noises echoing in the dark house. All she could do was hope the police would arrive in time. Every second stretched on like a lifetime, and Sandra reminded herself that she couldn't let fear take over. She stood strong, waiting for the police to arrive and rescue her from the danger lurking in the darkness. In 2019, Zahara made an impressive debut at another fashion and philanthropic event when she teamed up with the renowned jeweler Robert Pro. She launched the Zahara Collection, a line of high-end jewelry introduced at select Saks Fifth Avenue stores in the United States and Australia. Her designs were bold, elegant, and carried her. The man who broke into Sandra Bullock's home was Joshua James Corbett, a man who had become obsessed with her and had been stalking her for days. The police stated that his behavior was strange, and he had been standing outside her gate to watch, taking notes and documenting what she was doing. That night, Corbett jumped over the fence, rang her doorbell for nearly 15 minutes, and then snuck in through the sunroom door. In his backpack, Corbett had a letter addressed to Sandra, clippings from magazines featuring her face, and a concealed carry permit from Utah. Corbett owned 8 registered firearms, although he didn't bring any guns with him that night. However, his words were disturbing enough. In his notebook, he had written things like, "You are my wife by the law of God, and you belong to me." He even mentioned her son, Louis. After that night, Sandra was no longer the same person. She shared that she had become emotionally shattered, suffering from severe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Sometimes just looking out the car window would make her cry, feeling an inexplicable fear and tension. This feeling would come without warning, with no clear reason, and the trauma she had endured remained buried deep in her mind. As a single mother, Sandra feared that her own anxiety would affect her son. She wondered if he would grow up feeling that fear, or if he might eventually inherit it. Sandra was determined not to let that happen, so she turned to EMDR therapy, a specialized treatment for trauma survivors. She said that this therapy helped her regain her footing and begin healing slowly, step by step. As Sandra was working to overcome the deep trauma in her life, Corbett's life continued to spiral downward. He was arrested shortly after the break-in, with bail set at $2 million. In 2017, Corbett did not contest charges of stalking and grand theft, and he was sentenced to 5 years of probation. A restraining order was placed against him for a decade, and he was also required to undergo mandatory mental health treatment. An independent report conducted by Murphy's father in 2013 found high levels of heavy metals in her hair, but medical experts dismissed these findings, suggesting that hair tests might be unreliable and could have been contaminated by common hair treatments. There were also reports that Murphy and Monjack believed they were being monitored by helicopters and that their phones were being. Meanwhile, Sandra Bullock decided to begin a new chapter in her life. In January 2015, she met Bryan Randall, a photographer whom she had simply hired to take photos at her son Louis's 5th birthday party. Bryan Randall had been a model before becoming a photographer. He showed up at the party with his camera, unaware that this meeting would spark a new love story in Sandra's life. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to hit the like button, share the video, and leave a comment below to let us know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more fascinating stories. And now let's continue the journey together. Stay with us for what comes next. But something powerful and genuine blossomed between Sandra Bullock and Bryan Randall. A few months after their first meeting, they were seen together at Jennifer Aniston and Justin Theroux's wedding in August 2015. It was the first time the world saw them as a couple. Things moved quickly between them, but it never felt rushed. Bryan moved in with Sandra and her 2 adopted children, Louis and Illa. By 2016, those close to Sandra said she was the happiest they had ever seen her. Bryan wasn't just a partner. He had become a father figure in the family. He helped raise the children as if they were his own, while still staying connected with his daughter from a previous relationship. Sandra, who went through a painful divorce with Jesse James in 2010, eventually found someone who could bring calm to the chaos. In 2021, she spoke candidly about Bryan during an interview on Red Table Talk. She described him as the role model I want my children to look up to. Sandra praised Bryan not only for his kindness, but also for his patience. He's a fun and loving father, and even when they don't see eye to eye, he teaches through example. Despite having a big and busy household, their family has become a peaceful haven built on love, not headlines or public attention. However, behind that peaceful exterior, a storm quietly began in 2020. Bryan Randall was diagnosed with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a devastating disease that gradually weakens the body. He began to lose control of his muscles, and eventually even speaking and breathing became impossible. Most people with ALS live only 2 to 3 years after diagnosis, but Bryan lived with the disease for 3 years, and during that entire time, no one outside their home knew what was happening. Kobe Bryant, American basketball legend, and Vanessa Bryant had a marriage that went through many challenges, including a shocking cheating scandal. In 2003, Kobe was accused of sexually assaulting a female hotel employee, which seriously damaged his image. Although the incident did not result in criminal penalties after the parties reached an agreement, the scandal meant their marriage was based on mutual respect and deep friendship. Unlike many Hollywood couples, they avoided scandals and kept their personal life private. Their relationship was defined not by appearances, but by its resilience. Poitier's death in 2022 at the age of 94 marked the end of a historic life and a rare love story in Hollywood. Joanna, now in her 80s, continues to honor him through public tributes and by preserving his legacy. The story of Kobe and Vanessa Bryant shows that infidelity or scandals do not have to destroy everything if both parties are truly committed and determined to rebuild their love. They have proven that love and forgiveness are the power to heal the deepest wounds, creating a strong foundation for a family. Although Kobe passed away unexpectedly in 2020, Vanessa continues to preserve his memory and legacy while raising their children with love and an inseparable bond. They thanked the doctors and nurses who had supported them throughout the journey and requested privacy during their time of deep mourning. Despite suffering a tremendous loss, they chose to remain silent in their grief and decided not to share their emotions with the public. Michael Oher, who once believed he was part of a loving family, was faced with a harsh reality in 2023. In a monarchy, a title is far more than just a name. It represents power, a connection to the throne, and a divide between ordinary individuals and historical figures. When Harry lost his title, the impact extended beyond him to his children, Archie and Lilibet, royal by blood but no longer recognized as prince and princess. They were excluded from the coronation, removed from the line of succession, and denied the honor of greeting the public. However, in August 2023, Michael Oher shocked the public by filing a petition in Shelby County, Tennessee, shattering the long-cherished image of the Tuohy family that many had come to admire. Oher claimed that the Tuohys never actually adopted him. He alleged that when he turned 18 in 2004, they misled him into signing documents that gave them legal authority over his life, making him believe he was becoming a legal member of their family. In reality, they had placed him under a conservatorship, an arrangement typically reserved for individuals with disabilities, even though Oher was neither disabled nor incapable, but a healthy young man on the brink of a promising college football career. Nicole Kidman is an Australian actress and producer who has made a significant mark in Hollywood. Her beauty is often described as graceful and elegant, with porcelain-like skin and captivating blue eyes, earning her recognition as one of the most beautiful actresses in the entertainment industry. Kidman's talent goes beyond her appearance, as she has delivered powerful performances in a range of roles, from her breakout performance in Dead Calm to her Oscar-winning portrayal of Virginia Woolf in The Hours. Pamela Anderson's aging may not be so much a gruesome affair as it is a stark, unvarnished display of reality. The greatest tragedy is not the wrinkles or the damage, but the shock fans experience when they realize that despite the billboards and promotional images, no one, not even an icon like her, is immune to time and its effects. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher are now one of Hollywood's most beloved couples. Not only do they raise 2 children together, they also regularly share happy, simple moments of their family life on social media. The couple also emphasizes that honesty and patience are what help them overcome all difficulties, including challenges related to cheating rumors. Their story is a clear proof that love is not always perfect, but with enough determination and trust, difficulties can become a last. The Tuohy family claimed that all 5 members, including Sandra, not Sandra Bullock, but possibly referring to a family member with the same name, were paid equally. According to their statement, each person received about $14,000 from the Blindsided book and a total of $138,000 from the film. However, Oher's legal team pointed out that no financial records were ever filed, despite legal requirements to do so. Oher and his attorneys believe the Tuohys exploited their conservatorship to profit from his fame while cutting him off from the earnings he rightfully deserved. As the legal battle continued, attention began shifting to the blind side itself. Many critics argued that the film reflected a larger issue surrounding the white savior narrative. It portrayed a wealthy white family rescuing a poor black child and painted them as heroes while making Michael Oher appear helpless and incapable. Following the lawsuit, people started questioning the accuracy of the story depicted in the film. Some even called for Sandra Bullock to return her Oscar, arguing that even though her performance was outstanding, she still played a role in spreading a misleading and potentially harmful narrative. Although Sandra wasn't directly blamed, the public backlash left her deeply shaken. She had believed she was helping to tell a story of hope and redemption, but now the film seemed to be part of a narrative that misrepresented reality. She was heartbroken. The Blind Side had been a highlight of her career, but it is now forever tied to controversy, betrayal, greed, and a distorted version of the truth. The timing couldn't have been worse for Sandra. Just 9 days before the lawsuit was filed, her longtime partner Bryan Randall passed away after a long battle with ALS. They had been together for 8 years, and Sandra had remained by his side throughout his illness, providing constant care and support. Robert Doakey, born on April 20, 1934, in Stillwater, Oklahoma, was a gifted actor known for his unique charm and calm, steady presence. At age 67, he made a brief but memorable appearance in The Parkers in 2001, playing Walter, a short guest role that highlighted the quiet strength he brought to every performance. With his deep, resonant voice and composed demeanor, Doakey easily commanded attention on screen. Yet despite his talent, Hollywood often relegated him to supporting roles, offering few chances to shine as a leading man. Whitney Houston struggled for years with drug and alcohol addiction, which had a major impact on her career. While doctors pointed to the presence of drugs and other substances in her system, there's still ongoing debate about why she was in the bathtub in that condition and whether other factors played a role in her death. The decline of Marlon Brando is worthy of a tragic opera. The charismatic rebel, once a whisperer of revolution in the film industry, gradually became a stranger to himself. The decline of Marlon Brando is worthy of a tragic opera. The charismatic rebel, once a whisperer of revolution in the film industry, gradually became a stranger to himself. On the island of Tahiti, he ballooned to nearly 400 pounds, devouring midnight banquets as if to fill invisible gaps. On the set of Apocalypse Now, Brando was not only overweight, but also did not know his lines, requiring black turtlenecks and dim lighting to disguise his enormous size. In The Island of Although they are not biologically related, Sandra often shares that she feels Louis has always been her son. She calls him perfect, not only because of his tall stature for his age, but also because of his remarkable maturity. Sandra has even revealed that Louis gives her career advice at times, and those close to her say he carries a quiet intelligence that commands attention whenever he enters a room. However, Sandra Bullock has always made a conscious effort to keep her children away from the public eye. When she adopted Louis and later Layla in 2015, Sandra made an important decision. She would protect them from the chaos of fame. She required her late partner Bryan Randall to sign a non-disclosure agreement before he could spend meaningful time with her children. This was how she fiercely safeguarded their privacy, a strong and determined form of protection. Sandra's journey into motherhood was far from smooth. She began the adoption process with her then-husband Jesse James, but after their divorce, Sandra continued on her own. Later, she faced even greater challenges. In 2014, a stalker broke into her home while Sandra was inside, causing severe psychological trauma and shock. Following this incident, she was diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Therapy helped her heal, but the fear never fully disappeared. She continues to feel anxious and cautious, even as she strives to move forward. In 2023, Sandra faced another profound loss when her longtime partner Bryan Randall passed away from ALS. It was a huge shock for her, and she had to bear not only the emotional pain, but also the responsibility of carrying everything on her own. Despite enduring so many hardships and losses, Sandra Bullock has held her family tightly together. She often refers to them as quirky, loving, and understanding, and refuses to let anything shake their bond. No matter how tough life's challenges become, Sandra remains focused on providing her children with a stable and loving home, proving that family and love are the most important things in her life. At the same time, Sandra Bullock's career continued to soar. She began in 1987 with a small role in Hangman, but it wasn't until Speed in 1994 that everything truly changed. The film was a major breakthrough and marked a pivotal turning point in her career. Over the next 3 decades, Sandra starred in more than 50 films spanning a wide range of genres from comedy and drama to action and popular animated movies. She won an Academy Award for her role in Blindsided and earned another Oscar nomination for Gravity. Sandra has also received a Golden Globe and a Screen Actors Guild Award achievements that highlight her talent and dedication in the film industry. In 2005, Sandra was honored with her own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a lasting milestone in the career of any star. People admire her not only for her outstanding films, but also for her warm, humorous, and genuine personality. From Miss Congeniality to The Lost City, Sandra has always found ways to captivate audiences and deliver fantastic entertainment. She has become more than just a movie star. She is an icon of approachability and likability in the hearts of her fans. With over 35 years of shining success, Sandra Bullock remains one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Her story is not just one of a thriving career, but also a powerful tale of resilience and family love. Despite facing numerous challenges in life, her unwavering devotion to her family and remarkable strength have never faded, making Sandra a true role model for overcoming adversity. She continues to prove that whether in the spotlight or in her personal life, she can shine brightly and inspire generations to come. Do you find this story moving and inspiring? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on more amazing content. Thank you for watching till the end, and we'll see you in the next videos.